brother, one from another. The one from the brother, his name was Dr. Boyd Graves. He was a homosexual naval officer who contracted AIDS. And in getting the disease, he wanted to go and do the research and find out where this came from. And guess what he found? And by the way, they killed him. The CIA murdered him a couple of years ago for the information he found. And he discovered the United States Army Biological Weapons Lab HIV/AIDS creation flowchart. Wow. He found it in the U.S. Congress's library that showed that they made it. And not only that they made it, that they had a cure for it before they released it.
Wake up, black people!
Have you noticed? Irvin Magic Johnson was allegedly diagnosed with AIDS in 1991 when I was in 11th grade. It is now 2014. Now, one of the symptoms of AIDS is you lose a lot of weight. Has anybody seen Magic lately? Does he look like he lost any weight? The man got a size 22 neck. Look like he about 500 pounds. Magic Johnson don't have no AIDS. Magic Johnson never had AIDS. But what Magic Johnson did get in 1991 was an HIV antibody test. When you get an AIDS test, brothers and sisters, do your research. Believe nothing I say, do your research. When you get an AIDS test, they don't test for AIDS. The antibody test is just that. It tests to see if you have antibodies of the AIDS virus in your body. Well, let me tell you, we all have antibodies of things in our bodies. You can breathe them in from the environment. You have cancer antibodies. You got flu antibodies. Measles antibodies, AIDS antibodies, but your immune system finds them and eliminates them within 24 to 48 hours. So it is natural for you to have the antibody. You can't help it, it's in the air. But the problem is they got a test that's diagnosing for antibodies. And that's why when you go and get your AIDS test, they make you sign a waiver that says if this is wrong, you will not sue us. Because it is a test. Is AIDS real? Yes. Anyone who says it ain't don't know what they're talking about. AIDS is real. The problem with AIDS and Ebola, though, is they're looking to make money off the disease. And because they're looking to make money off of the disease, that means when they screen for the disease, just like with ADHD, when they screen for the disease, they want the criteria to be so weak, so general, that anybody can be diagnosed with it. Are y'all following me? Yeah. So even though AIDS is real, half the black folks in Akron diagnosed with AIDS probably don't even have it. Because they took an antibody test. And because you got drug companies on Wall Street who make billions of dollars off of AIDS medicine, they need to make sure people who don't have it are getting diagnosed so they can keep the profit margin up for their investors. In fact, in Africa, AIDS is defined. And in case you don't know, depending on where you live, there's a different definition for AIDS. Well, what do you mean there's a different definition? I mean that they're making up stuff. That's what I mean. Listen, if you live in Africa, you will be diagnosed with AIDS if you meet 3 conditions. If you have a fever, if you have diarrhea, and if you exude symptoms of sickness that last for at least 3 weeks, you can be diagnosed with AIDS. Now, you and I know that there's a lot of things you can have that will give you a fever and diarrhea. Okay? Like food from the Chinese corner store, right? That means you got AIDS because you had 3 wings, salt, pepper, ketchup, canned soda, bag of chips, and the chips got 1998 on the bag. My point is, brothers and sisters, be careful. Ebola coming. And because Ebola coming, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm no doctor, not that kind of doctor. My doctor is clinical psychology. But if I was you, I would think twice before I allow myself or my children to receive any immunizations. This is not the time to be getting no damn flu shot. Not right now. This is not the time for measles, mumps, and rubella. Not now. Swine flu vaccination, they can keep it. H1N1 vaccination, they can keep it. Bird flu, they can keep it. Because I'm going to tell you right now, and there's evidence to back me up coming straight from former employees from the Center for Disease Control, that they are contaminating the vaccinations that come to predominantly black communities. Go get your flu shot. You ain't got AIDS now. You might have it by the end of the month. But you're not going to believe me. You're going to go get it anyway.
Right, though. Right.
Are you aware that black people in Africa eat just as much red meat as black people in America do? I know. When I'm in Nigeria, they are meat eaters. When I'm in Senegal, they are meat eaters. When I'm in Ethiopia, Malawi, Liberia, they are meat eaters, but they don't even have a quarter of the cancer rate that you have. Black man, your black brother in Nigeria who blue, black, purple than you, eat just as many ribs as you do and have almost no prostate cancer. How do you explain people of the same race eating the same diet coming down with 2 totally different illness trajectories? Because they contaminated the food, they contaminated the water. Environmental racism. Have we even done a study in Akron to see whether or not where black people are living in Akron used to be places where they used to dump toxic material? And how many black folks work for city government know where those toxic dump sites, and you do the research on the toxic dump sites, and you'll find that the highest rates of cancer are right where the former dump sites is. Environmental racism. Now some of y'all going to say, well, Dr. Umar, if I don't give my child no shots, they can't go to school. Who told you that lie? Now this is my expertise. There's only 2 states in the United States of America that demand a child must be immunized in order to go to public or charter school. That is West Virginia and Mississippi. This is Ohio. Your child does not need immunizations to go to public or charter school. That includes daycare as well if it's publicly funded. So how do you get an exemption? 3 ways. Number one, you go to the pediatrician and you have them give you an immunization exemption form. There's a form that doctors fill out that exempts your child from any shots. You take it to the school secretary, life goes on. You can also go to the County Board of Health website and print out your own immunization exemption form and take it to the secretary, life goes on. The third strategy is you write yourself a letter saying my child will not be immunized. I know this to be my state right. I do not believe in this. You don't have to list the religion. You just have to say family belief. And you take it to a notary, you get it signed and notarized, and you take it to the secretary of the school, and life goes on. I know because I've helped parents do it in nearly every state in this country. But the trick is not to be asking them for rights that you know belong to you. See, black folks got a bad habit of walking in there saying, Dr. Johnson was here Sunday, he said. The law don't fight for you. You have to use it to fight for yourself. You have to walk in there and let them know. I understand that in the state of Ohio, my child does not have to get an immunization, and they're not. Here's the form. Who's her teacher this year? It's that simple. Parents do it every day. Your child don't need them shots. Them shots are making our kids sick. Why you think we got so much autism?
Mercury.
Most of you in here who are my age or older, I'm 40. If you're my age or older, you probably never had an autistic classmate your entire life in school. I never had a single autistic classmate from pre-K to college graduation. But what about our kids today? That baby right there, she's likely to have about 10 autistic classmates total. At least by the time she graduated high school. Why we got so many black autistic kids now? You know why? Because of the damn shots you keep giving them babies. Have you noticed that a lot of our kids are normal until 2? And between 2 and 5, they get autistic? You're like, my baby was fine up until her second birthday. Right. It's because those second set of shots that they give, they're the most toxic shots that you can give a child. And they don't need them shots.
T.
It's true that the shots no longer have mercury in them. That's true, but now they got other substances that are worse than mercury. My youngest daughter, she's not immunized. And she's not going to be immunized. Her mother and I, we don't believe in that. Me for political reasons and her because she's a vegan. Okay? So she's not getting those shots. She don't need them. In my experience, most of the children who don't get shots are healthier than the ones who get them.
They are.
Now, if your child goes to a private school, you might have to get a lawyer, but even then, you can still keep them from getting the shots. And also, believe it or not, even in Mississippi and West Virginia, I know parents who still were able to get the exemption, even in states that say you must have it. So you need to know your rights, brothers and sisters. And on that note, as I wrap this up, where did they say AIDS and Ebola came from?
Africa.
Did you know Ebola is named after a river in Central Africa known as the Ebola River? And guess how they say AIDS came into the world?
Monkeys.
They said a black woman in the Congo. Listen to me. A black woman was contaminated with AIDS after interacting with a monkey. Now, let me ask you a question. If a monkey got AIDS and a woman ends up with it, and AIDS can only be exchanged through bodily fluid, what are they actually trying to say? They're trying to tell you that a black woman had sex with a monkey. If you don't believe me, go to the library, U.S. Congressional Record, and look up AIDS, and look at how they say it came into the world. A black woman had jungle fever with a chimpanzee.
It's not funny.
And guess what? Ebola, the same thing. But let me close with this. Why are they blaming AIDS and Ebola on the Congo? What is it about the Congo? The Congo is the richest piece of land on the planet Earth. If you do cell phones, laptop, cars, airplanes, computers, video games, any electromagnetic device, you require a mineral called coltan. Guess where the world's #1 producer of coltan is? The Congo. So the reason they're telling everybody that AIDS and Ebola come from the Congo, so nobody will go, is so they can rob and steal all the resources they need to keep their electro-technological magnetic society operating. Brothers and sisters, as I leave you, I want to say this. If you haven't had a chance to get a copy of my new book, Psychoacademic Holocaust, you will have a chance to do that in the other room today, and I'll make sure I sign them all before I leave. Also, I want you to sign up for the Akron Independent Black Parent Association. In 2015, I'm going to really get serious with organizing the Parent Association. When you go to the merchandise table, there's a book. Sister Shannon has it. I want you to sign your name